front indicator units all wired in. Used bullet connectors, you can see here, bullet connectors. Found out what the blue and white, or blue and red wire was that was burnt out on that side. Front spots, so front spots are sorted out. No idea where the horns are, I'm going to look for those. Again, front spot wiring there. Side repeater wiring there. That's both front indicator units. I'm going to work on the back light units now. I think what we might end up doing is, well, I go and get one first of all. So here's the arse end of the loom. What I'll do now is I'll plug it on, because these things have got little notches on them. You see these types of connectors. I'll plug it on and I'll check that the two wiring colours actually follow straight through. Back. Red and yellow is fog lights. Oh yes. And then we've got green will be indicators, I think. Yep. And then we've got green and red. I've got no idea. It's probably fog lights. No. Brake lights. Red we know is side lights. I've got them all spliced in. However, minor cock up. What I've actually done is I've spliced the offside loom connector into the near side loom, and that's the reason why I've got a green and red and a green and white. Green and white is the indicator for the passenger side, green and red is the indicator for the driver's side. It's not an issue. Basically, the right power is going to the right indicator, it's just got the wrong colour code on it. These fucking things happen, don't they? Right, and as you can see, the weather has really picked up well today. Ah yes, very nice. What is it? 3 o'clock. I'll be heading home in about an hour. I'm going to go see my beautiful missus, so hopefully I can get this loom sorted out. So the driver's side, sorry, passenger side is nearly done. There's crimp, by the way. Let me show you how the crimp works. It's quite a neat little thing actually. You buy these little fellas. I get these from Vehicle Wiring Products or any of the other suppliers. Most people do these, and they're just a butt connector, and you put your loom into the inside of it. It's got a metal ring inside. Put your loom into it. This is going to be a bit long, this loom. It just needs a little haircut. So there we are. Pop him in there. Boop. There he goes. And then using my trusty butt connector crimp. Come on, you bastard. On you go. That's it. That's what you need to do. On. And then we need to do the other end. So again, what's wee haircut. And he goes in there. And once he's in properly, again, get Mr. Butt Crimp onto the job and crimp him in. And I just normally crimp it in the middle as well, just so it holds it all nice and properly tight. There we go. And that's that. Now, because these things got the blue bit is actually a heat shrink, so I shall move the others out of the way and then just heat up the heat shrink, and it closes down over the wire. I'm not heating right up to the edge of the wire because I don't want to melt the insulation on the wire. This one needs to turn over. Let's do that one like that way. There it goes. Right, and that's that done. Spliced. In other news today, the Bose self-levelling strut has finally fucking appeared. It was shipped on the 31st. Despite the fact there was promises made to me it will be delivered on the 25th. But anyway, it hasn't held me up particularly because I wasn't ready for it yet because I've been busy doing loom and painting and other stuff. But it's here. And yeah, it's a good one by the looks of things. It doesn't compress. Both ball joints are fucked, but that's not really a problem because I've rebuilt both ends already. Also, it looks like he might have been down there with an angle grinder as well, trying to cut the bolt heads off because they're a bastard. So all I really need for this is one big Jubilee clip, because no way is that going to undo, ever. And then I can assemble this onto the car. Woohoo! Then I can finish off the back end. Woohoo! Put the brake lines in, bleed the brakes, put the prop shafts on. Woohoo! One step closer. Right, rear pads and everything are in. I'll bleed this next, but before I kind of went too nuts on getting everything done at the back end, I've refilled the back axle, EP90, and I fitted the brake pads, and I've cleaned out the breather. So the axle breather, it's like a little banjo fixing that goes on top of the axle. This thing was absolutely full of solidified oil and gloop. I had to take the associated end off of the other part of the tube, which is here. There's the tube, there's the banjo fitting that goes in the end. That was all completely gummed up. Cut that off, blew the tube through, and the tube was clear eventually. And then I've cleaned all this out as well. A fruitful 10 minutes work. This is probably why all the seals have been blowing. We haven't had one of those for a while. Sorry, guys. But yeah, I had to use drill bits to clean the gloop out because there's so much of it. Right, do this, get front wheels off, and I might bleed the brakes today. 3 o'clock. Brakes are bled, so bled them right through. Got a nice firm pedal, not as firm as it is on that, but that's got power brakes. This has just got normal brakes, twin circuit normal brakes. So I shall leave it overnight and see what happens. See if any of the fluid drips out. As you can hear, the weather is Devon again. Right, we've been messing around underneath here. I've got under here really to have a look at the prop shaft, and then I started messing around with all the loom that's under here, and I pulled the entire loom off the gearbox. Well, say the entire loom, there's hardly anything of it. One thing that troubles me slightly, that's the fuel line, and it's about 1 inch above the exhaust. And it's got some tin foil wrapped around it, and it's held onto the gearbox with a zip tie. I'm not convinced that's entirely satisfactory. Oh, that's interesting, there's a little brake feather there. So I'm going to look at routing the fuel line where it should be going. Because obviously this fuel line is set up for a VM. I'll need to investigate. There's the zip tie. You can see that. That's just hanging off a bolt. That's not brilliant, is it? Done the mapping here for the engine loom. So green is where I've got a direct match, and I've matched the connector to the function. The only one I'm missing on this list was the handbrake switch, and maybe there isn't a handbrake switch. There isn't a handbrake switch on this car. If there was, it would be black and blue. Then the other one I've got here, there's a couple of anomalies here. So where I don't have anything, so transmission temperature switch, brake pad sensors and check engine sensors, none of those are on this engine. The one that I've kind of got a little bit odd on is the engine temperature sender. And I have got green-blue is what it should be. And what we're saying is on the oblong connector, which is this one, we're looking for green-black. Is it green-black or is it green-blue? Can't fucking see. Green-blue. It is green-blue. I can see it in there. There he is. Oops, is he going to focus? Green-blue. Okay, so that's good. So I can put that down as green-blue now. So then I've got a full match here of all of the different things that needs to happen. The only thing that was slightly concerning is that I have got a wire here, which is... Where is it? There. That fucker. And I didn't know what that was for, but it's actually for the heaters, for the glow plugs, which aren't connected at all. They weren't connected to anything. So I can connect up your glow plug heater, but I don't think we have got the glow plug timing unit. So I'm going to have to try and get hold of one of those, but I can connect up the loom anyway. The engine will start in the cold, but the colder the weather gets, the less likely it is going to start, and you're going to end up cranking it for an hour. So I do need to get a glow plug timer sorted out, or bypass the circuit. But you don't want the glow plugs on all the time. You only want them on for when you're starting. So we don't want to fuck around with it too much. But yes, that's good news, isn't it? Got that sorted out. In other news, the box has arrived, the one I was complaining about. So in here there's a mix of stuff for Blue Car, so I can get that done today. We've got new headlight bulbs. Nice. They've got all the rings and everything on them. They've got the headlight connectors, so I can get that all done. Headlight connectors, see? Nice. Okay, splice those all in. I have got a good big monster power steering hose. Yay. That can go on the car. I can trip over the power cable. And I think pretty much the rest of this stuff in here is for Blue Car. So let me stop videoing. Today on Project Southpaw, we are fitting lights. I'm going to have to route the loom through to the rear number plate lights. We've got a bit of a mist on this today, haven't we? I think my camera's fogged up. Rear lights, going to get the number plate lights fed through to the tailgate, and I am going to fit up the whole front end. Oh yes. We have an eye. We have an eye, and it's fitted. Woohoo! Got the wiring on the inside here to connect up still, but headlight is in. Now, a couple of top tips for you on this. First and foremost, when you're looking at this embellisher ring, work out which is the top. So the adjusters on right-hand drive go top and to the left, so basically 12 o'clock and 9 o'clock, and the fixing point is about 4 o'clock or thereabouts. So the idea is you can wind the headlights down and up and in and out using these two, and it fixes on that one there. If you need to change the bulb, you just undo that screw down there, whole light unit comes out with the embellishing ring on it, and you can change the bulb. Right, so the first thing I do is, with this bit in mind, is I work out which is the top. Because it did half save you a shitload of time. You know which is the top on the bulb because you've got the writing at the bottom of it. So I just mark with a ped at the top there. Okay? That's the first thing I do. Second thing, the reason these embellisher rings don't fit onto these bulbs, or these headlight units, is because there's a metal, tin, whatever you want to call it, ring around the outside. And you can see the thickness of the gloop in here. Can't see because it's out of focus. I mean, honestly, that must be about 5mm thick in there. So what I've been doing is tapping this edge in very, very, very gently. Just on one side of it. It's almost like, I can't possibly think what was going through their minds when they put these things together. I mean, that is there. I mean, I could get a dick in there. So they've obviously sealed it, they've glued them in, they've not glued them in central, and then it's just cheap headlights, to be honest. What are these? Auto Pal. Well, I can get them to fit fairly easily. Let's balance that there. And it's ever such an easy thing, just support it. And I'm just persuading the metal outer ring to be a slightly smaller diameter than it was before. But all of this is so fucking unnecessary. If even that off round there, you can see I've knocked all the fucking paint off round there, but we'll see now if the ring fits over the top. And it does. That's all it needed. How fucking useless is that? So there's a top tip for you there as well. Right, now these things are actually held into this frame by clips, metal clips, which go over these loops on the back of the bulb unit, on the back of the headlight unit, and then little screws on the front. And then we wrestle with the little screw while balancing the bulb, and in it goes. Right, two more, and then basically the headlight unit is held inside the ring, and that's the main thing we're looking to achieve here. There we go. That's that. Right, okay, now with the bowl I've put the two adjusters in, midday and 9 o'clock, and they slip onto, because just to do a visual double check before we, and then the screw goes through that hole down there. Next thing I need to do then is to drill out the 4 holes for the mounting points. I won't bore you with that. And then we'll mount this onto the car, fit the bulb into it. Right, so we mount the headlight bulb into the front panel. 4 screws, they go into kind of captive plates, plastic captive buckets, look a bit like those little plastic, like square holes, and you wedge one of those in, and then you put screws through and into it. So the bucket's now in, adjusting points at 12 o'clock, at 9 o'clock, fixing point, and then all I need to do now is to fit the headlight unit and move forwards. I'll crimp these power steering hoses are both in, so there's 2 new hoses go from the pump and from the reservoir across to the new, well, the refurb box, and a new pipe that goes from the reservoir to the pump. So you've got low pressure, high pressure. This, interestingly, this was the pipe that went from the reservoir to the pump. I really do think that has seen better days. Right, fan on this thing. It's not beautiful, is it? I'll have a look, see if I can get a fan unit, because the viscous works. It's just the fan unit. I'll see where they come from. It might even be exactly the same as the Range Rover one, in which case I've got one back at home. Let's have a look. Because I have got in here, oops, a fan, look at that, and a viscous. It might be a bit fatter, of course. It's got less blades on it, but it is the same diameter. I might have a fan unit at home for you, chap. You can't have this one because it goes off mine car. I'm going to leave the rads out, the intercooler and the radiator out, because the other thing I want to do is change the hoses, if you don't mind, while we got it all apart, because these fucked. Well, they're not fucked. They're worn out. Top hose. It's a reinforced hose. You could probably get more life out of it, but often when they start crimping like that and bulging around the edges, they're a bit tired. And the front hose is here. Sorry, the bottom hose. Much a similar state. And to be honest, while it's all apart, for the sake of a couple of quid, just put new hoses on it. So I'll get that sorted out. Right, now the power steering hoses are in, I'm going to get on this front end. So what I've been doing is I painted a couple of bits really to protect them rather than anything else. These are the bits that hold the lock assembly up to the front, and that's the panel that supports the oil. Sorry, fuel filter. Fuel filter is going to go on that side. You don't want to go there. I'm not going to route the fuel line, which currently sits on top of the exhaust, comes across the chassis. That's going to get rerouted to go over there. So it's all coming together at the front end. Got the supports in. Got the new bonnet pull, because the old one just couldn't get it out. Anyway, I've had to put a new bit of pipe here because that'll do the job. It looks all right, doesn't it? And then the original bit of pipe over there. Right, then I thought, oh great, I'll get the bumper on, because I've done the steering damper, and I've also changed the steering ball joint on this front track arm, track control. And so I looked at all the bumpers. So this is your new bumper you got there. That's really nice. I got the washers off the donor bumper. I got the spoiler off the donor bumper. Good effort. All the bolts came down on that. Went to the Spanish bumper. The one that's actually not in horrific shape considering the state of the rest of the car. There's only one kind of significant dent on it, but there. Every fucking one of these captive bolts has spun. There's no way of the undoing. So I'm not going to do it today now. I'm going to get the angle grinder out tomorrow. maybe not over the fuel cam. I'll get the angle grinder out tomorrow and I will just cut the heads off them. I think it's going to be the only way. Water actually dripping from the roof and onto my phone. Yeah, it's going to be the only way, I think. I just can't be arsed to wrestle with these things. I mean, I've had Mr. Windy Gun battling with these and he's gone nowhere. Yes. Bit of a pain in the arse. But, because all I need off this is the mounts, and then the rest of it can just go sort of back into the stash. Right, bumpers on. And it is 6:20 on Saturday night. You know what that means, don't you? It's time to stop working. It's time to get on to the gin. There's quite a lot of marks on this bumper, which I'm going to polish out, but they weren't me. Right, just a little polish on the top there. But I've had enough. Radio can go off. Oh my goodness. Corner bumpers are over here. They can go on tomorrow. Corner bumper brackets. Spoiler. Woohoo! That can go on as well. Yeah, looks alright, doesn't it? You regular subscribers to the channel will know that I really hate doing things twice. So, bumper was on, bumper was lined up, bumper's off. Why is the bumper off? Because I cannot get the spoiler to fit. So basically what I'm looking at here is two holes here, which the number plate bracket bolts through. Okay? So traditionally all you do is you align the spoiler onto the brackets that support the fog lights or the spotlights or whatever driving lights you've got in the front spoiler, and then you shift the bumper backwards and forwards. Would it shift? Would it fuck? What a bunch of cock. How am I supposed to shift that left and right? It's on, fits, happy with that at last. The griller can also go on now. Griller just slots into a couple of holes on the bottom of the front panel and these tabs on the top of the front panel. I'm not going to push them down yet because this thing's going to be on and off like a horse drawers. Oh, I might need to... Oh, it's not gone in the bottom there. It's not gone in the bottom. I'm going to get the Vaseline. 1 minute, 2 hands. There we are. Griller's on. No Vaseline was needed. Right, I found the horns. They were mounted up here rather than down there where they're normally mounted, so someone's drilled a couple of holes up here. However, neither works. They both look a little bit worse the wear, actually. And rather than fucking around with them, I'll just get another pair of high-low tones for you. So you can go poop, poop. Unless you want one of those train horns. The ones that scares the shit out of everyone within a 400-yard radius. Right, I'm going to get on with... Next, I think I'm going to get the diesel filter out. Because I want to understand what's required of the diesel filter. I just cut the fuel pipes to the filter. I'll just replace the fuel lines in their entirety. It's not really a problem. The reason I cut them is because I know that one's a green one that goes to the pump, or from the pump to the filter. And the black one, which I cut, goes into the actual injector pump. Now, then we've got a fuel feed, which goes into the top of the pump. That's got a bendy one, and we've got a fuel return, which comes off the bottom of the injector pump. So I'll take those two off, and then I'm going to get the fuel lines out from underneath the car, unwrap them from the exhaust, and see if I can get them up the correct chassis rail, and then start rebuilding it all. There's been another mud fall, Tim. I'm putting the front prop shaft on. And ordinarily these things are a little bit of a ball's ache because at the front you've got nut and bolt. You kind of use two spanners to get them together. You can't get a socket in there. Even those special bloody sockets, I've never managed to get them in properly. However, on the transfer box end, the bolts are actually secured in. So basically they are captive nut. There we are, got the lights. Now, here we've got, this is the transfer box, and basically what you've got is a bolt sits behind the flange for now. Then you just really have to worry about doing the nuts up. The problem I've got is these bolts, they were an absolute and utter bastard to get off when I first did this job. These things should just spin on. They're UNF. They should just spin on. I mean, this is right on the end of its thread as well, and I still can't get the fucking thing off. So I put brand new nylocks on. I thought maybe new nylocks will do the job. UNF. No, these have been an absolute sod. So what I'm doing now is I'm putting normal nuts and lock washers on. And even those were an absolute nightmare. Now you can see how shiny the thread is on here. I think Manuel, or Manuel's Gorilla, who probably worked on this at some point, has hammered metric nuts onto UNF threads, because these things are an absolute and utter bastard. Not helped, of course, by the big old cross member that sits in the way. And I don't want to really kind of start pulling cross members off, because they're a ball's ache to get back. But I thought, this is one of those jobs that normally takes half an hour, and so far, well, half an hour for the whole thing. And so far we're just struggling with this. These nuts are just fiendishly tight because the threads are all mashed up. Nothing I can do about it now. I've got 3 of them on with nuts and washers. I'm going to take this nylock off because it just will not cut on the mashed up thread. And then by the time the nylock's off, the thread should be clean enough to put the nut and the spring washer on. Oh, deep joy. Joy of 1,000 joys. Right, so there's the thread. You can see it. It's swarf all over the place. I mean, now I look at it, really, when I had the prop shaft off, I should have taken the front flange for now off and replaced the 4 bolts. Hindsight, marvellous thing. Right, okay, we're going to wind a normal nut and a spring washer on there now. Looking good, huh? Spoilers on. Front panel's on. Radiator's not in yet because I need to get hoses. I found the horns, they're knackered, you saw that. Steering intermediate arm is in place roughly, waiting for the moment when we're going to attach the steering column. So that's just sitting there waiting at the moment. Oh, big news. Oh, shit. Big news. Heater's in. Speedo's in. Dash top's in. Been going through the loom, working out all of the different bits that need connecting. I've got some minor issues with the connector that sits between the ignition switch and also the wiper motor. I'm looking at those at the moment. Nothing particularly serious, nothing I can't get past. The switch that does the recircle or outside air on the heater is a bit fucked. It's really not there. It sort of works. I'll see if I can get another one. Otherwise that's going to go on. That's good, huh? Done nothing at the back end of the car today because it's too cold and it's a bit exposed at the back end of the car here. Well, it's not exposed because it's under the roof, but it does get a bit breezy. But I still need to put the loom through. I've got a handy tire up there ready to pull them through, get that all sorted out. I shall bullet them together. That's been the main thing. Oh, fuel lines are all out. So fuel lines are now running along the near side chassis. I need to measure the fuel lines and get the fuel line ordered up. I'm going to move the filter onto this side. It does need another filter anyway, because it's getting a bit clustered over here. The clutch hydraulic hose really isn't up to much. I'm going to replace it. It's just fucked, really. It's quite a long old hose, that, as well. So, not quite sure how it went. It must have gone across the bulkhead. Must have done. Anyway, it snapped off. So, it was leaking fluid everywhere. Here we go. This is the fuel feed. Fuel comes down into the pump here, and that's the return pipe that goes back to the tank. So I need to work out what I'm going to do as far as replacing these is concerned. Bit disappointed really that the pump, so this pump here, was before the filter. I would have thought the filter would come first. Well, the filter's going to be over there now, so I expect the filter will come first.